Hello, hey all. Come back again, talking about more about Otto Mcline. Okay, so to recap there, he is now has his own little shop working with people. He got a K through, oh my gosh, I forgot to mention one major thing. Veldos is now a trained blacksmith and Sylvester is doing his own locksmith. Those do play a part later on. Veldos is a pretty cool guy. Yeah, he's one of his cousins. Veldos gets along with guys quite well. He has his own husband, and he still is a little shy around women, but he still gets along with pretty much everyone. He's a cool, awesome guy. Sylvester's still a bit of a dunce when it comes to common sense. He occasionally mistakes things and takes long steps to get stuff, but he's a genius. Owns his own little locksmith shop. And Sylvester can turn anything into a trap, essentially. That's a good thing to know about them. Okay, back to Otto. I actually forgot all about them for a second there, and they are important. Okay, so later in life, Otto is now, his watch is actually melted to him in full, so those three spikes are now part of his entire body. He has now stored the life support suit in his watch and actually could launch at any given moment when needs be. So it now has plant life linked into it that can sustain his life for quite a period of time. It can stand almost any intense field of gravity. He also attuned for time delays and stuff like that. If he ever gets stuck in a black hole, it could actually sustain his life within the black hole, in theory, at least. Because, even though he's a genius, you never know what might happen. His world does run on different rules than ours, so don't critique me too much. I do know a lot more about black hole theory than I will tie into this, but it doesn't really tie into my game since I did this back when I was in high school. But I still like it better than the actual theories, so I'm keeping it to that one more than the actual math that's involved that I know now. Okay, so Otto now lives in his own little place, but he goes back to his parents all the time to work on stuff. So one day, a freak accident happened where he was working on his watch trying to figure out how to slow down time so he could get more time to work on stuff. It locked both of his parents into a time loop of sorts. It froze them in the downstairs living room, and his mom was downstairs in the lab working on something or another. But so they were both just time locked in space there. So for the next few years, he was trying to figure out how to get them out of there, but didn't. But he did see that they were still alive, so he ended up storing their memories extra in his watch. Just to do that, make it if like in the future if he could load them up into another body or something like that, or eventually figure out how they get them out of the time lock, because it's freaking creepy having people stand around your house that you can't even move, because you try to move them and you just end up like either phasing through them, it felt like, because they're like both inside, you could still see them, but they are outside the time space of their world. So it was a little crazy in theories wise there. Charisse was trying to help him more. She sent him finalized DNA plants, which was a way how he figured out how to create his own black hole into his own personal world, where he was sending extra data to the plant life that grow within inside intense environments. The world inside this black hole. So this little black hole that was tied to his DNA that appeared from this plant. Well, technically it was from his watch that he created, and he just bound it to the plant so it would have a place. It didn't actually have any pull to it, so it didn't suck any of the extra matter around it unless he gave permission. Like he would have to go click, doom, put it to his watch, and then it would go to the world. That includes all the memories, and at this point he was also trying to fund a clone factory. In the news, though, I should also mention, though, about when he turned 42, Otto got a message from Veldos to meet up there. Then he got a hilt that was about this big, had a skull at the end of it. He would hold it, and occasionally it would get messages from this old creepy skeleton-looking guy inside his head. Later on, he learned that it was his ancestor, Skimna, giving him a message about the impending doom. Skimna's a reaper now, and Otto just needed to do stuff. Occasionally, the blade would shoot out of the hilt, since Otto actually has more energy than he realizes, and it freaks him out when he first saw it come out, but he also keeps it on him at all times. Otto is a sword master, so he does know how to handle it if he needs to. He's also really good hand-to-hand specialist. He knows how to disarm almost every type of thing, and he doesn't really like guns or metal, but he does know how to handle them. He also created this little marble-shaped thing that would absorb incoming metal or anything like that. If he triggered it with lightning or anything like that, it seemed like it would partially come alive. So he created these way before Flursick or anything like that. But he would keep a little pouch on his side with him at all times in case he was ever in a firefight. He would just throw one of those up and pretty much would protect him. And then he would go do a bunch of other stuff. He would also help the police force with some of his tech, including those Acre I was just talking about. He would help them out with those. Pretty much create suits of, bulletproof armor, essentially. A little better than Kevlar, but if you don't know how to use it, it might not work for you, as is any given tech. He would also help the police force in a lot of other ways, of course. His little pocket, like I said, his backup watches, he would give those to cops for free all the time, just so they would have a backup vest on there. Or now that he actually got it to be able to contain certain type of materials, he was able to create essentially it was a taser that he could shrink down. It didn't actually have any metal to it, but it could actually contain a current through electric stream, essentially. And as soon as it hit someone, it would either knock them out on their butt because it was a neural taser. And didn't really feel like electricity, but you were down nonetheless. And he also was getting really fascinated with bladed gauntlets at this time, and he was trying to figure out how to shoot projectiles out of them, and he did do that pretty easily, but that wasn't one of his passions until way later in life when he was in Flursick. Now, I'm going to just mention this part now since I'm tying him up. Okay, so the moon is coming alive, about to destroy the Earth. This has been, Skim has been telling him about it. He's been alerting the newscast. They're like, oh, nothing's happening. Then they see the moon crack apart. A freaking big old creature. Think about a transformer in the moon is essentially what's happening here. Or you could think of Majora's Mask, where the moon just comes alive and roar, I'm gonna get you. All that type of stuff is now just coming down, destroys the Earth, shatters it. He jumps into his freaking portal. The life support suit activates in full. He has so much material there. He has his own little personal world. He escapes into there. He has so many memories saved on his watch. He tried to get his parents locked into there. His entire house is now succumbed into the world itself. That was the first house of Flursick. His parents are no longer stuck in space, time space, but he can't find them. He has their memories locked, but he can't find their original bodies. Later in life, though, he does find them, and they do get better bodies. One of the first things he notices when he gets into that world, though, is that there's a sword stuck in a tree that's bleeding. He can't see hardly anything other than what's in front of him. His watch is the only thing really providing light right now, and his suit has a little flash right there. He didn't get any actual natural light source into his world, and when all forms of metal went into that world, it just disappeared. No metal. His acres were the only thing that survived going to that world. All the forms of metal just disappeared. Some copper survived, but still disappeared. Iron disappeared. Almost all forms. Freaking even, not even technical metal. It's glass. Obsidian disappeared when going in there because he had little things of obsidian. He liked dealing with obsidian. It just was gone. So he was trying to figure out how to cut down trees, build his house. First thing he did though was grab the sword. It was Skimna's sword, of course, did that. Boom. Then Skimna was fully on in his head, talking to him more, teaching him more powers, trying to give him Reaper powers within inside this world, which allowed him to give him a moon. I am rushing through this, but that pretty much sums up Otto's Earthrealm stuff. After this, Otto's now in Flursick doing his stuff. He's the very first technical, true Firstborn of Flursick, which is this little world. Sort of a little world of just leftover materials he was tossing into a portal that just built up over time. And thanks to Sharice's plants, there's now sustainable oxygen in there. There's actually trees that sprouted. He is very happy to be in this world. That being said, though, peace out. Good night. You all have a wonderful life.